is not hesitant to give CMC even more touches, which makes me nervous, but sounds like he is having a ton of fun with his new toy, and if possible to get him an MVP, Kyle seems like he would love that and feel very proud of himself. I want to ask, this isn't on the slide, but I didn't ask it earlier, and it came up in a conversation that I was having with a friend who isn't a 49er fan, but is like a more casual football fan and grew up watching the Bucs. And they asked me if you had, and this solely hypothetical, I just think maybe your answer could be fun. If you had to trade away Brock Purdy or CMC, which one would you do? And that kind of which one? Well, and I'll ask two questions.
That's tough.
I wish I had a slide for this, but I'll ask two questions. Which one would you do, and which one do you think Kyle would do? Because I was making the case more that like CMC MVP, and they were like, oh, well, why not Brock Purdy? And I was kind of like, well, like, and I was trying to explain it, and then they asked that question, and I was like, it kind of makes you pause for a second. I want you to answer. I'll let you answer first. So, who would you pick, and who would Kyle pick in your opinion?
That's really tough. I mean, I think Kyle would pick Brock, just because I think him and Brock just understand the game so well, and you still consider the fact that he is still growing. He's a young player who already looks this good, and you can only just imagine that he'll improve. And in the past, it's kind of been a rotating door at running back, right? So I think for that reason, like, I'm sure there's a part of Kyle that feels like, I could probably just get another running back, somewhere. So I'd probably be CMC. And that's so tough. I'd probably say the same thing just because, like, I don't know. Like, there's this, like, narrative or this whole thing going on about Brock, and I'm sure you've seen it, right? That, like, he's only this good because he benefits from, the playmakers. Certainly he does benefit. It's also not the only reason that he's playing this well. I mean, anyone who has watched these games, I think, has seen enough. And Prob said, I'd rather chop off my arm. Yeah, I mean, that would look better than, either one of those guys, because they're so important right now. But yeah, I almost would want to see, like, okay, fine, like, let's just take some of these weapons out of the picture and see how Brock does. And I still think that Brock would be a great quarterback. Like, yeah, the offense would take a step back as a whole because, yeah, you're losing a guy like Christian McCaffrey. Yeah. But I still think Brock would be able to run this offense better than we've seen other 49er quarterbacks under Kyle Shanahan have in the past.
Okay, so I want to weigh in too, because when presented this question, was presented it from, maybe I was probably coming at this from like a different, more like maybe arrogant angle that you might have. Well, I was like, well, he's really good, but he's definitely benefiting. Now the person also did bring up, like, well, what about Jalen Hurts? Is he not benefiting from his team? Do all quarterbacks in some way not benefit from their really good players? I like the way that you put it down. So my initial take was definitely like, you would want to keep CMC. He's been such a game changer. He's so dominant. But I think you do have to put positional value into account. And when we look back at the rotating quarterback carousel that the Niners have had, it does seem like finding that guy has been such an important step. And you're right. The offense would, if you take out a Pro Bowler, they're going to be amazing. But I do think, I've advocated just for less Christian McCaffrey just because I don't want him to get injured. And in my head, when I'm advocating that, I don't think like, oh, they're going to lose all of a sudden. I imagine that they're still going to win because they have so many other talented players. And I do have some sort of trust and belief that Brock is going to be able to have that chemistry with Ayuk, with Debo, with Mason. That will be a topic for a different time. I so understand why Kyle uses so much CMC, because I'll be like, let's get Mason the ball. last week, Elijah Mitchell the ball, and then you see them and you compare them to CMC, and you're like, okay, I really understand. Like,
you're like, why? You're like, why wasn't that a 60-yard run?
He makes everything so unrealistic. Yeah. Like, you see someone do something good, and you're like, I mean, and that we're just being spoiled this season in general. Spoiled. Like, they don't score the one possession. And I'm like, oh, all right, just fell asleep at the wheel, right, guys? It's like, no, we scored like every other time.
We're so like obnoxiously spoiled right now. Yeah. Like it's not even funny. It's not even funny. The Cardinals were like, I think what was like the closest they got? Wasn't it like 11 points or something like that? I feel like that was.
I think they got it within 5 for like 1 second, but it was okay. I mean, the Niners immediately responded on the next drive. So, and don't worry, I let them hear it for that one drive. I was like, oh, just giving away the game, guys, right? Just
exactly. You like start freaking out, and it's like at no point were they ever like down at all. Yeah, it's insane. But
I almost this is I feel like it just depends on what type of fan you are. Like I know some people that kind of like to be more calm. I almost like to buy into like I kind of like to ride, but I like to be like burn it down, and then I like to be like Super Bowl. I don't know. I get my heart rate pumping, you know.
I do that. I do live tweet sometimes the games, and I think after like live tweeting the Giants game, Thursday Night Football, I kind of learned my lesson that I should just not.
Like in the beginning,
it's very reactionary.
In the beginning, you're like Brock Purdy, dude, and then by the end, you're like just
I was so close to being like, is Brock turning into a pumpkin like right before our eyes? And like I didn't, but we worry about those things because of what Jimmy Garoppolo and all that.
Yeah, we have we have PTSD.
A little, yeah. So
we're like, okay, it's good now, but we're aware that this can. All right, we are on the honeymoon stage.
It can go off the rails at any time.
You have to prove to me that you're not going away, because my belief is that this could catapult into a fire at any moment.
Exactly. Pretty much. So.
Well, Steph, this was so much fun. I think to round up what I said, I agree with you that positional value, I would keep Purdy. I do believe that him at the helm has made such an incredible impact on this offense. No matter how hesitant I wanted to be to believe it. Mm-hmm. I should have articulated that better. But he's been amazing. I understand Kyle's love for CMC, but I think he's very smitten with Purdy, and I do think he has a little bit of that confidence, arrogance, whatever in him, that if he had to put another running back in there, that they would make it work. But luckily, right now, like Pabs said, we don't have to chop off our arm, and we're not choosing between either of them. So that's really great. Yeah. It was a fun.
But I like the question. That was it was a good thought-provoking question.
I thought so too. And I just wanted to thank everyone in the chat and everyone who's watched. I wanted to say thank you so much. This is the first, and I'll get there in a second, but this is the first live stream I've done where I've hosted it. I've done a couple with Eric where he did everything, and then I did one solo one by myself that was such a mess. And Steph, you made this feel so smooth and so professional. You had so many great stats and facts, and I felt like you like held my hand the whole entire way. This was so much fun, and I feel like came out way more better, smooth than I could have imagined. And I had such a great time doing it with you. And I really, really thank you for joining me. I know that you have a show coming up at 4. So if you want to plug your channel and that show and everything, go ahead and please do that now.
Yeah. You guys can subscribe to me at Steph49K, or you can look up 49K Pod, 49 Carats Podcast, and I will probably pop up. I'm also Steph49K on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all the social media platforms pretty much. But Ashley, I appreciate you having me on. This has been really cool to just like see this, growing and setting up in its like little infancy. So this is just the beginning. I'm excited for you to get started. Like I told you, like you already know everything you're talking about. And that is like half the battle right there. There's a lot of people who start podcasts and don't know what they're talking about, and so you're already doing just great. right off the bat. So this is awesome. Can't wait to have you on my channel, later this season. And go Niners, man. Let's go.
Go Niners. Thank you so much. Everyone, seriously, go check out Steph. I love all her shows. All her tweets are so informative. She's constantly putting out such good information. Everything that I got earlier about CMC and the Lenny Moore thing, that all came from her show when I was listening a couple of days ago when I first reached out to her. I always feel like I learned so much. And, if you ever want to reach out to someone, she's been so kind to me. So I really appreciate it. And I appreciate everyone listening. We'll definitely have more streams on this channel coming out. And yeah, thank you so much. I'll end this now so Steph can go do her show. I'm awkward at ending these because I've never done it before. Bye. Thank you guys so much.